Welcome back to Trip to the Mound. Again, we are the iBaseballChannel podcast. So again, in light of Mr. LaCoss feeling a little under the weather this morning, we're going to see if maybe getting a little blood pressure revving and see if that might be a good cure-all for this. Again, taking people back. At the end of last week, you said, Roy, I've got a subject. I want to get into it on Monday, and it was based on a little interaction that you had on Facebook. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, there's a few postings that I see now, and some guys came back, Barry Bonds came back into the game as an invitee to spring training with the Giants, and Matt Williams, the new manager, and all of a sudden here's this stuff, and they're out with the steroids again, and it all led to kind of a Facebook discussion trail that there was a lot of topics discussed in there, but it was like, come on, guys, get over it. It was like, you just don't get it, do you? And so that discussion carried over, and then here comes all the stats and the so-called facts about these people that are out there, and that I guess kind of stalk these fan pages and some of these things because they want to throw facts out there, but they really don't have them, And so I kind of got a little bit riled up about this because you start talking about all the effects, and we're going to let Matt Williams is in there. He's way done and gone and over with, and I guess part of it was this stuff about I'm trying to recall the exact lines in there and whatnot, but I know this, that in the end I threw up these in capital letters, expansion. What don't you guys get about that? You have AAA pitchers out there. Everybody, if everybody takes steroids, who cares? And you can't tell me that if I'm out there and I haven't taken any, and I maybe suspect that the guy hitting up there is on him, so what? He still has to do a lot of things to hit the baseball, Mm-hmm. And when you go back and look at all this stuff, the expansion is really the key thing that allowed these players to put these kind of numbers on the board. I mean, Barry's up there. He's on the dish. He's got a 30. If I'm not mistaken, it's a 32 and a half or maybe a 33-inch bat. Okay, and so he's got the plate covered. He's got elbow armor on. He's got kneecap armor on. He's got shin armor on, and nobody's in here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's terrible pitching. That's minor league pitching. You deserve to get your ass kicked. Because of you're not doing the things you're supposed to do as a big league pitcher. I don't care if a guy takes roids or coke or he's coming out there on a 6-pack of beer. I don't really care.
Yeah,
I still have to make my pitches and get people out. I mean, and all the escalated things. These guys just feasted off of AAA pitchers.
Yeah,
and there's no question about it.
Whereas again, I assume that the argument that they were making on the other end is that the steroids were ruining the kind of the sacred stats that had long been established, and all of a sudden these guys start taking the steroids, and then their numbers supposedly are jumping up. And what you're saying is, again, the influx of this pitching, which is AAA level, before the years of expansion happened, they're now major league pitchers, and you see an immediate difference in it.
That's right.
That many more opportunities to jump on a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you'll see even a lot of guys, things happen in baseball. You start going around the league 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. If you don't know what you're doing out there, you're going to get hammered because now they're going to sit and wait for you. They got their plans down. The advanced scouts have been out there all year. They got all this stuff kind of dialed in. You better be ready to make your adjustments out there. So I just disagree with this whole thing out there. And steroids don't make your eyes any better, do they? I haven't discovered part of this topic. If you take a hitter's eyes away from him, he's like everybody else. That is one of the things that separates a major league hitter, the guys that have success, the guys that hit 250, whatever, when you look at them, when you test them, their eyesight's better. They see things that you and I don't. I do. I see them. You know, right now. Look at me. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can read the phone book, and I can spot animals across the canyon, and I can see too.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's the whole thing about athletics. There are some cases where this Superman vision is required, and only some people have it. Ted Williams, they said that, you know, he had this tremendous eyesight. That's the whole key to everything. Everybody can work on and put on a nice fundamental swing, work on your mechanics, you know, and all that stuff. Yeah, just about everybody can work on that. But you got to see the baseball, my friend. And then there was a comment, well, so-and-so wore glasses. That's right, he did, but now that's part 2 of it, okay? Now there's the athletic ability of eye-hand coordination and getting the hands to the baseball where you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
That's the ability of the major league hitter that separates him from the college guy and whoever, is that they have that ability, the eye-hand coordination, and then the guys that you see up there that are tearing a cover off it, according to statistics, all of them across the board have tremendous eyesight.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen a steroid yet that helps somebody see better.
Well, and I know I did see a little bit of this thread you were talking about, and I think another part of the discussion that came up was about lifting weights and how this is a supplying of power and things like that. But my question to you is, you know, first of all, when did weights become a thing in the locker room to begin with? When was that introduced into a Major League Baseball clubhouse?
Oh, I'm sure back in the... See, guys would go into the military and come out. Mm-hmm. And still, guys are doing weights. They had dumbbells back then and you know, bench pressing bars and stuff like that. They lifted weights. And then in the late or mid-'70s, the Nautilus machines came out, which people got into those.
Yeah.
But players have always lifted weights. I lifted weights. And you're going, yeah, right. But no, we did. You know, it's just genetics. You know?
Yeah.
And so...
well, and again, the reason I'm bringing that up is to guys, say, in the era of, say, you know, Mickey Mantle was one of my dad's favorite players growing up. I got to read stories about him hitting these tape measure shots, you know, out of Tiger Stadium through the right field area, across the street and things like that. That's not just about lifting weights or steroids or things like that. I mean, again, isn't that type of power the perfect storm of all things happening? Your eyes, your hands.
Yeah, but you've been around here long enough now. Look at all the players now that you've been around, and you've shaken hands with some of these guys, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember shaking hands with Johnny?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I got news for you. When you have hands that big, they're going to be probably pretty strong. I can't imagine a guy having hands this big and then just being a sack of spaghetti out there. I mean, these guys, the old guys, the Mantles, Mays, Bench, all these guys.
Hank Aaron,
these guys have huge hands and strong hands. And part 3 of the hitting phenomena is you got to have strong hands.
Yeah.
If you're gonna drive the baseball, you can be the little guy, the little punch and Judy guy, the topper and the run guy, that kind of thing. But if you're going to drive the baseball, you got to have strong hands. End of story, folks.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, and before we break away
Steroids.
from this,
Yeah.
with the steroids, where does it help? In what part of the Major League season would players be getting a benefit from this? You know?
Steroids?
Yes.
On the day-to-day recovery, just feeling good. It's about feeling good. Like I told you, guys go out there and they play all year long, and they have all these little ailments that nobody ever hears about. Mm-hmm. There's days, Roy, when I'd pitch games and I'd come in the clubhouse, I literally felt like a garbage truck ran over me. You couldn't even touch, I don't want anybody touching me or anything. Just kind of come in there, and the only thing I would do that day is do a long routine for cardiovascular to get flush some of the stuff out of there. Mm-hmm. Didn't even pick a baseball up. Could hardly take batting practice.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And people don't realize that. So the steroids have an effect on recovery. That's the whole thing about it.
Yeah. to when you get to that point, 140 games into the season and your body feels tired.
Yeah.
Not
See,
so
there's
much.
a big psychological effect that things have when you are a professional athlete and you're thinking, I'm going to take this pill for a certain reason. I need to get stronger, faster, whatever. You take that pill and you have a little bit of success with that, or there's some results, all of a sudden it becomes a psychological thing because there's so much psychological input and output and all these thoughts going through your mind when you're out there as a player. And when you have more plus things going through your mind than negative things, it's a big help.
Yeah. And like you said, no matter who it is staring at you at the other end, in the batter's box, you as a pitcher still have to go out there and do what you have to do, which is not worrying about necessarily what state they're in when you're pitching to.
But I guarantee you could take a player and say, hey, look, player A over here has been taking this stuff. Look what he's doing. And you could give that person a placebo. And if you gave it to them and that night they went out and went 3 for 4, you could pull it off.
Yeah.
Because the mind is so much of a factor at this level.
Yeah.
And there would be a large percentage of guys be able to have what you would call success and be taking a placebo.
Yeah. Well, and you could hear it, again, not to delve too deeply into it, but in the correspondences that Alex Rodriguez had with the gentleman from the Biogenesis Clinic. What he was doing was, hey, I've got a 1 o'clock game today. What's a good time to take this? 10, 11? You could see that mental, those expectations were being set to, like, once I take this at the right time.
It's part of his routine.
Yes, correct. So now it's the right time to be for game time. So, yeah, interesting stuff.
Absolutely.